Hey, it's Kevin with Sapphire Coaches, and today we're going to talk about active listening. What is active listening, and why would I actively listen? And I promise if you pay attention, you'll probably get something valuable from our little discussion here today, and it won't be too long, I promise. So, what is active listening? Well, let's start out with the idea that do you ever feel like people aren't listening to you, really hearing what you're saying when you're speaking to them? And the other thing is, how do you listen? How engaged are you with people? So I'd like to talk today a little bit about active listening. What is it, and why is it so powerful? So let's talk about an example or a contrast of listening. I'll call it good listening and not so good listening. So a good listener is engaged. They're not thinking about them, they're thinking about you, what you're saying. And in that conversation, you feel heard. If someone's not listening to you or you're not doing a good job listening, you can just tell in the way you feel. When someone is engaged with you listening, or you're engaged with them in a conversation and really hearing what the other person has to say, there's just sort of a mutual feeling of good communication. And that gut feeling you have around how well you're engaged in the conversation is really a great way to measure things. So let's start out with, what is active listening? It is probably a coach's number one skill, because we help people move from point A to point B and discover their stories and their solutions. So we have to listen. And as the International Coaching Federation defines active listening, it sounds like this, and I'm going to look down for a second so I can really give this to you word for word. So active listening is the ability to focus on what the client is saying and not saying, and to understand the meaning of what's being said in the context of the client's desires, and to support client self-expression. And I think the key two words from that definition as I look at it is meaning and context. So that's what active listening is, plain and simple, in the definition of the largest coach credentialing agency in the world. So let's move on to the why. Why would I active listen as a coach? There's two parts to this, as a coach and as a human. Well, as a coach, it's probably pretty obvious. I have to listen. That's what we do. We listen to people as coaches, and we help them unfold their story. And if we're not paying attention and listening like our life's dependent on it, we miss things. So that's coaching, the context of active listening in coaching. But I want to look at something that I think is more important, and that is active listening as a human being operating in the world and being interactive with other people. So what does active listening do for you? Why would you actively listen? Well, the first thing is, when you pay attention to what people are saying, they feel that you care, that you have some concern, that you have some interest in what they have to say. And if you are trying to help form a relationship for yourself with someone built on trust and built on good communication, you have to actively listen. You can't fake the foundations of building trust. So when you listen to people and when you hear them, when you understand them clearly in the context of what they're saying, they trust you more. And if you walk around this world of yours, whether you go into a store or you're dealing with your family members or friends or anyone in the world, building trust in your interactions with others that you want to build relationships with is just so important. And the final thing I want to touch on here, because we're going to keep it brief, is that active listening keeps you present. So often our minds are in other places and we're not really in the conversation. When you are focused on someone and intentionally paying attention to every word they say, you're very, very present. And when you're present and you're interacting with someone in present real time, it's the most effective place in the world to be in a conversation. So, let's sum it up a little bit. What does active listening really do for you as a human and as a coach? All these things we just talked about, and it makes you more effective, and it helps you respond instead of react. And when you sum it all up, it makes you a better leader, a better parent, a better friend, a better everything to everybody that you're in relationship with. So active listening is really about focusing on what the other person has to say in the context of meaning to them and really trying to understand that. And we do that so that we can personally get better. And if you want to be a coach, if you're thinking about becoming a professional coach and using active listening as an intentional skill to help people move forward, and maybe you've been thinking about professional coaching, I'd like to help you. If this is interesting, if you find this like something that you'd like to pursue potentially in your career, take a jump and join our Associate Certified Coach Credential Starter Program. It's accredited by the International Coaching Federation. It's $299, and you'll get 12 of your 60 training hours, and you'll get support and the education and everything you need to learn the ICF coaching model, and active listening is a key part of it, and it'll really help you in your life. And if you choose to go forward as a professional coach, it'll become your everyday. I'm Kevin with Sapphire Coaches. Click the button if you're interested in joining the program or getting more information. And in our next video this week, we're going to talk about the how to active listen. How do we actually do it?